So the bye this week was the Highlanders, and the first fixture we had the Chiefs taking on the Blues at home in Waikato in Hamilton. Again, a pretty sold-out stadium. I think there was 23,000 attendance, which is pretty solid. That's got to be near full gates. So, yeah, good atmosphere. And who wants to kick us off with this one? How'd this game turn out?
End score, the Blues upsetting the Chiefs at home. I think, Nelson, you were pretty happy with yourself getting that one right. 24-12 away from home. And obviously with such a short season, you'd think that away wins when it's a home and away fixtures head-to-head are just going to be so valuable. So this is a massive win for the Blues. I think the first time they've beaten there since 2011. And also their 5th record away win in a row. So never before have they got 5 in a row away from home. So massive game for them, and a very good performance. You had Akira Ioane and Sione Mafileo coming back.
Yeah,
Ioane, obviously Kagi's favourite player in the world, starting at number 6, which I don't think we've ever seen at Super Rugby before, have we?
I can't say that we have. I don't think we have, no.
I think he may have moved to 6 potentially at some point. He definitely hasn't started that I know of.
Yeah, and Mafileo on the bench as well as a solid backup prop.
An enormous backup prop. That was huge.
And new injuries in this one. You had Brad Weber go off in the second half, late in the second half for a concussion test. Apparently he passed that HIA, which should mean that you'll see him next week. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah, he'll still go through those protocols, but yeah, more than likely we'll see him.
He shouldn't have to go through the protocol if he passed the test.
They were talking about who was the Crusaders guy that got concussed? Oh, not concussed. He passed his HIA, and they're saying he's being forced to go through the protocols anyway. So I'm guessing they're just being strict. Yeah, Gatlin came out and talked about it. Gatlin?
Yeah,
Razor.
Well, yeah, see what happens.
Are you sure? Did you get concussed on the weekend, Nels? Because I don't know if you know what team or what players we're talking about here, but it's...
It's in the notes somewhere. Yeah, look, that's the Chiefs now have lost 4 out of the last 5. Something that when I was discussing that with Harry on the weekend, he didn't seem to believe it. We all thought they were going to come into this.
I think they're too good for that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, well, the way we talked them up this year, Jesus.
Yeah, it's fair enough. We expected them to probably top the table, but things haven't gone sort of that way for them. There's a bit of pressure starting to build on Gatlin. He came in, and I think people expected a lot, or at the very least, they expected something that they're not seeing at the moment. A few of their key players probably aren't playing to the level that we're used to. Maybe D-Max, one of those examples. This week, I think he probably had a poorer game than last week. Last week, he pulled out some good stats, but didn't seem as influential. This week, I think he really, he took a step back. He ran lots of meters. He tried to distribute a little bit more, but didn't really stamp himself on that game. But
I've got to say, this is for D-Max expected level, right? Like expected level. I actually thought he was still pretty solid, but for the impact that he can have on a game, you mean?
He beat one defender. He had no offloads, no line breaks. He ran 100 meters or just over 100 meters. So he ran lots, but he didn't really break the line. Yeah. Sorry?
Kicked very well as well for goal.
Kicked very well. But again, not what you normally expect for him. You normally expect him beating defenders, breaking the line, things along those lines as well. This is the Blues' first win in Hamilton since all the way back in 2011. But also it was their franchise record 5th away win in a row. So they've won 5 now in a row.
That's such a big point that we've said it twice already.
Yeah, I didn't hear you say that. I was too busy worrying about other stuff. But yeah, no, look, the Chiefs look massively improved in that first 10 minutes, especially through the work of their forwards, which is something that they needed, which was a little bit of surprising, I suppose, with their lock pairing. They're missing a few sort of forwards there as well. But I think that was important for them early on in this match with the heavy rain. But I don't know if they kept it up for the whole match. I think that's sort of something that their game maybe deteriorated over the match because the forwards in tight didn't necessarily keep up that effort.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. That's probably the key difference maker in this match was if you compare the two back rows. I mean, obviously, my boy Akira, he came back, had a good run. He led the carries for the Blues. But Hoskins Tutu, again, just, as much as I love Akira and want him back in that 8 jersey, even I can't admit that needs to happen, because Tutu, man of the match, and it just into everything. Scored a try assist. I mean, that pass, that silky pass for that try assist, that, looked like a veteran inside centre or a fly half type job there. It was.
Mate, he is everything you want from Akira, but better. Like attitude and stuff. Like, he is brilliant.
I was watching it with Nelson, and how about their turnover, Nelson, where that grubber went downfield? I'm like, oh, that's a good kick. Nice, Rico. And then you hear, oh, Hoskins Tutu, put the grubber through.
Yeah.
Like, oh, of course. Of course he does.
Ridiculous.
And that's because they all have the same bleached hair job, but you don't know who's who.
Absolutely.
Well,
Rico's is worse, though, let's be honest. He's got the worst bleach hair out of all of them.
No, I think that's fair. But yeah, in terms of comparing those two back rows, I think the stat that really stood out for Harry and I was the tackling. So huge work rate from both of them. And we just talked about the Blues really getting through some attack there, but just the work rate. So that in the tackling, Tutu, 15 out of 16 tackles. Akira, 12 out of 12. Papali'i, 15 out of 15. So they made 41 of 42 tackles, the back row. It's at about 98% almost. So absolutely ridiculous. But I mean, it's not like the Chiefs back row was dropped off the mark that much. They were still just below 90% in terms of the tackling. But I mean, whilst there was a similar amount of carries, those Blues back row made about 3 times the meters. They just made it count, basically. So
the interesting thing was, I mean, if you look at that Chiefs back row, that's an extremely dynamic, extremely good back row as well.
Yeah.
You got Luke Jacobson returning back in after, obviously, I mean, he played last week, but off a bit of a break, and everyone's been waiting to see him. He's an All Black. You've got Lachlan Boshier, who's been killing it in the first half of the season. Peter Gus, he's such a dynamic, strong player, but they definitely got outdone in this match.
And I think part of the crucial part of that was it's this breakdown. It's how strict they are on the breakdown. So Jacobson and Boshier, that would give you nightmares in trying to keep the ball. And both of them were just getting pinged all night. I
don't know how many they gave, but man, it must have been a lot.
Yeah,
Boshier. I remember Boshier got a really good one at the end, like a textbook, 10 guys coming in on him, and they eventually awarded that. But yeah, they gave away a good handful, 5 or 6 penalties between them at least.
And that's an interesting thing that in this match, it was policed very differently to the other match of the weekend.
Yes. I'm trying to remember how it was policed. I just remember it was policed terribly in both of them. But,
it was policed terribly. It was just extremely differently. We'll go into the Crusaders when it comes, but there was just no consistency out of the two.
That's true. Now, so we talked about the back rows being a big difference maker, one of the big differentials in this game. The Blues back three, or the big outside backs. Now, they really lit it up last week, but it was interesting this week. They were fairly anonymous in the first half. You didn't even see any of Caleb Clark, Talea, or Rico. It's kind of amazing.
I saw you see this, but then I remember in the first 10 minutes thinking, oh my God, it's pouring rain. Remember the first shot, Nels, we were sitting down and we saw the close-up, and they'd just been running such crazy attacking lines that I actually said to you, I was like, oh my God, their skills are insane. It's pouring rain. And I had absolutely no idea. So I thought that early on, that was probably more a case of the fact that the Chiefs forwards looked really, really switched on.
For sure.
And I think they kind of warmed into the game for sure, like you said, more in the second half. But the really important thing I thought to take away from that was the role of Talea. So he was the left winger all through the start of Super Rugby this year before the COVID break, and obviously was lighting it up, the top try scorer in the competition, and everyone's calling for him to be in an all-black jersey at the end of the year. Fast forward to post-COVID break, Caleb Clark comes back from New Zealand Sevens. They stick him on his favourite left wing and push Talea to the right side. Now, Talea's not playing badly, but I would say he's probably got a quarter of the opportunities he did before on the left-hand side. All the ball goes down Caleb Clark's side, and the Blues just seem to love attacking that left side wing. And I think it looks like, for your fantasy managers out there and for your punters out there, that left side attack for the Blues is just an absolute damaging weapon.
Yeah, look, I mean, Talea was still pretty brilliant over that match. He beat 4 defenders, had a couple of line breaks, but he just didn't seem to get the ball anywhere near as much. He's good with the ball when he gets the chance. The difference simply is just how many opportunities he gets in that match.
Yeah.
So are we saying if we chuck Nelson on the left wing, even he'll look good? Is that what we think?
It doesn't go that far.
Okay, all right.
Back in the olden days, maybe.
The old, what was it, 10.7 nils? Is that what? I know you haven't forgotten, mate. So.
Oh, mate, I'm definitely not going to argue with that. We'll keep it at that.
Was it 10? Oh, yeah, actually, that's...
50 metres, yeah.
It was 11-3 when I was 15, so
Okay.
I don't think I ever got 10-7 though.
Look, mate, I don't. These aren't times I indulge in. I only look at the 20-yard dash. So
Mate, if you're under 11, you're lightning.
very good. All right. Well, do we have any other points to kind of round this out before we get into the match stats and fantasy man of the match?
Yeah, it's interesting seeing Bodie Barrett move to fly half for that final 20. I think that's something that we're going to need to see more of. He just seems to control that team quite well. Money was another good game from Aotearoa Black. He is sort of showing his influence on that team.
And interesting to see Harry Plummer come on and play 12 as well in the back half.
Yep.
He did. I think we've talked about this before. He did play 12 for the New Zealand under-20s for, I think, 2 years, actually. So he's well versed. And I think it's because he's got a slightly bigger body.
Yeah.
But, no, definitely. I think he's probably going to find himself putting his hand up for that more and more if he wants to get any time on the park, really. So
Probably.
Yeah.
Take anything you can. In terms of the match stats, there was a few differences here. Possession was 55% to the Chiefs, territory 54%. They actually dominated the meters, 401 to 292. They had less of the offloads, 3 to 5, less turnovers, 6 to 8, but they were 190 to 60 rucks. The biggest telling stat, I think, out of these was their scrummaging. They got 4 of 6 scrums. They got 67%, whereas the Blues got 4 from 4, making that 100%. And in penalties, there was 9 to 13.
Very good.
Better on the penalty count, definitely.
Yep.
All right. Well, in terms of fantasy points, the fantasy man of the match was none other than the man we've talked a lot about, Hoskins Atutu, 52 points. Bagged himself a try assist, 7 runs for 24 metres and 15 of 16 tackles, as we talked on. Akira, not far behind, 50 points. Tui Piloto, 47 points. Big Paddy is someone who I've really loved. He looks in incredible shape.
He's looking good.
Yeah, he's just an absolute weapon. And Talea, 42 points. For the Chiefs, we had Quintapaya of 49 points and D-Mac with 44. So still finds his way in there, even in a bad game for him. What's the 12 minutes on in this game? No, we'll leave that, Nate. All right, so how about we move on to the next game?
Yep, so the Hurricanes versus the Crusaders. Another away win here with the Crusaders upsetting the Hurricanes 25 to 39. 5 tries to 1 in a game where I think after the first 15 minutes when the Crusaders went up by a couple of tries, our thread, we were saying it's men against boys at this stage. It was just so incredibly one-sided. The Crusaders were doing whatever the hell they wanted, and you would have had no idea that they didn't play in week 1 of the competition. It was their first game back.
Do you mean at the end of minute 1 when they scored
Yeah, that's right.
absolute team try that looked incredible?
Seriously, we'll get to that though. Returning, you had Sammy Whitelock back from his sabbatical, and what a well-timed return with the old dog roll not playing in the team and being in real doubt for the rest of the season. And Ethan Blackadder as well, also another quality lock /6, right?
Yeah, mainly 6. He's not a huge guy. I know he can be both, but he's not. You see him standing next to Whitelock, and he was tiny compared to him.
I think
Yeah, right.
Cullen Grace is more of a lock than Blackadder. I think Cullen Grace is a bit bigger than
Yeah,
Ethan Blackadder.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, back from his shoulder operation as well, his shoulder reconstruction back in October. And you had one new injury, Braden Enor. We didn't see it actually happen, but got pulled at halftime apparently with a hamstring injury. And we haven't got any more detail just yet on how bad that is. Generally, they scan them pretty quick. So I reckon hopefully midweek we get some good info.
Check out the casualty ward.
Yeah.
Yeah, rolling into this actual game, it was pretty atrocious, the lineouts. There was overthrows by Coles. He did at least 3. Taylor, he was throwing terrible lineouts, one that led to a try, I think, against them potentially, or penalties against them actually, and losing opportunities when they could have scored tries on the line as well. So both of them pretty crucial in terms of scoring points and giving points away. But I think one of the biggest telling things, we were touching on it before, the penalties in this match. Early on, the Crusaders were on the wrong side of this penalty count. They were down 8-1 after 26 minutes. And that went into about 10-4 at half time. But there were some really strange calls in this match. There was at least 4 times that a player, an attacking player with the ball in hand, was penalised for not letting go of the ball. And it was literally split second, like tackled down the ground, the defender touched the ball, not even necessarily in a realistic position of getting the ball. Then defenders came and cleaned them out, and they were penalising them for not letting go. And, I mean, to the point that I've never, ever seen anything like that before, and it happened 4 times in this match. So in that instance, obviously favouring the defensive side. But then on the flip side, I thought one of the best things Griffey did in the match was he had a real solid attack at the ball, and he was penalised for not letting go. And he was not even the tackler. So I think that was really poorly penalised in this match.
I said that to Harry just before. I said, normally I'm not on Karifi's side because he goes in on everything. But there was twice then that he was definitely second man in, and they said no release. And it was like, sorry, what? It's crazy.
Those penalties kept the Canes in the game early on. I think one of the biggest things as well was the fact that they didn't seem willing to take the opportunities at tries or going for line-outs and scrums. Twice they were within 10 metres of the opposition try line in the middle of the field. Once when there was a yellow card to Goodhue, and they still elected to go for the penalty. So they had one new centre on and one centre missing, yet they went for the points. So there was no better attacking position. What was that, Harry?
They asked TJ Perinara about that in the post-game press conference, or the interview, on the sideline, and he basically said, look, when the other team gets such a good start like that, sometimes you just got to try and accumulate a few points to stay in touch while they're going red hot and hope the game swings. And 63 minutes into the game, it was 25 all. So I don't know. I actually thought it was a good decision. I know the commentators were criticising that penalty kick early in the second half when Goodhue went off, but surely it makes sense. Kick the points, get within 3 points with another 9 minutes with a man in the bin and have a crack at them then. They just couldn't capitalise on it once the man was off.
I tend to disagree. I think if you're the captain, there's been numerous penalties against the other team. Someone's just been sent off. The last scrum you had, the other team got penalised. I'd probably continue that pressure on, especially there's no better position to scrum when you're inside another team's 22 and you're in the exact middle of the field. They're now missing a defender. There's so much space. There's no better opportunity to take that scrum. Whether you're 4 points down, 7 points down, I mean, you're against the Crusaders. You're eventually going to have to score some tries to beat them. Sure, they stayed in the game because of it, but I also think they lost the game because of it. If you're not willing to go for a try, you'll stay in the game, sure, whenever you take your points, but you're going to have to score a try to beat the Crusaders.
I think, look, it nearly worked out for them. It's like they took the goal, they kicked, received possession again, and they got right back down there, but then they gave away. It wasn't a stupid I forget what the penalty was for. It was kind of a stupid penalty. But they had got
repeat infringement, the Goodhue one. Yeah, look, but as soon as they received the ball, they ended up losing points off the back of that. They didn't get out. I don't think they got out of the half. They lost points, and there's a penalty kick back against them because the Crusaders were happy to slow that down and take points when they had the opportunity too.
See, but the risk here is, like, in a situation like that, you can't predict 3 phases in. You just got to back yourself to be able to continue to attack a team with 14 men. It's a whole other failing, the fact that they're conceding points with playing against 14 men on the field.
Of course. As I said, I still think you've got no Goodhue or anyone on the field. I'd be going for the scrum.
But no, so you got David Avili in the centres. He's as good as any two men.
That's true. Yeah, when the commentator said that, they go, "Oh, they're down a centre." It's like they've got David Avili.
David Avili plays both centres.
Calm down, mate. All right, he plays every position. Okay.
You gifted an overlap.
How about him bumping Nani Laumape?
Who does that?
Coming back from losing all his body weight from having a body organ removed or part of an organ removed.
I think Laumape thought he could just go in at about 30% to that one. He was like, "Oh, I've got him covered. Don't worry about it." But taste of his own medicine.
Something different? That's pretty crazy.
Look, speaking of the Crusaders back line, I just thought in attack and defence, there's no backline anything like them. So in attack, how lethal did they look? Severu scoring after 1 minute, as Kagi touched on before, on the back of the entire team getting involved. Then after 13 minutes, Braden Enor picking up a try through a grubber as well. They look just so dangerous, so ominous, and they just take every single opportunity that's given to them. Will Jordan, an absolute beast, 111 run meters. David Abili comes on and blows a team away in the 40 minutes on the park, even though his centre pairing partner is gone for 10 minutes. Their attack is insane. And then in defence, the entire backline is so fast and so accurate in the tackle. Like, who cares if they're a man down? They're just going to shadow you to the sideline and knock you out. Blam tried to run around them at one point, and Severus just let him go and then just hammered him over the line. They're insane. Yeah. It's just completely unfair.
Defensively, they are ridiculous. Their speed and their ability to read the play as well is awesome.
The thing for mine, and I want to see what you guys think on this, is this particularly from the first try for the Crusaders. The Kiwi teams are better than anyone in the world at supporting the play. So, they get into space and they always have a man or two running a good angle on the inside, offering options and supporting the play. Crusaders, I was going to say, the Crusaders, like no other team on the planet, they do that, but they always have like 4 or 5 players who have sprinted through and are supporting the play. They have so many options, and it just means that, I was thinking they always make the right decision or they always make good decisions, but they just have so many options to make that it's hard to make a wrong decision.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, realistically, if you're at that line and they decided to pass out to Severus, who then had a lot of work to do, where they could have just passed in to Will Jordan, who would have just run it under the post with no one near him. That was the wrong choice, but it doesn't matter. You gave it to Severus, so he's going to beat the 1 or 2 blokes in front of him anyway. I don't think it's every Kiwi side, but the Crusaders definitely. Chiefs more often than not, maybe not so much as much recent.
I just mean that the Crusaders particularly stand out. The Kiwis in general do it better than everyone else. Like, for example, Perinara's support lines for the Hurricanes coming through. He's always there. But the Crusaders, exemplified in that first try, they had at least 4 people running through and supporting in the first minute of the game. I mean, they're all fresh, obviously, but just so many options.
And Joe Moody's been the best supporting.
And bloody Joe Moody, yeah, that's it.
Oh my God.
I like to trash on Joe Moody, but he probably, Harry and I were saying he probably had the best game we've ever seen him play. So he was into everything.
I think he imposed himself a lot early on in the game. And then I thought he did fade off a fair bit. He looked brilliant in that first 10 minutes, got involved, had 3 runs or so. But other than that, I don't think he did a huge amount in the back end of that game. But
second half and the 3 scrums that played through, though, their 2 feeds, they got attacking penalties and blew the Hurricanes off the ball.
Yep.
And then the third one, they basically stopped the Hurricanes from getting any forward momentum on their own scrum. He did his core role very well as well.
But we still want it on the record. He's a grub, just to be clear. Yeah, he's an absolute
grub. But I thought you guys were being a little bit generous to him.
Very good. All right. Box kicking. How did that turn out?
Woeful. There was just terrible kicks all around in this one. It was almost as bad as the line-out throwing.
Can
we blame it on TJ's HIA? Did he get hit hard enough that his the axis was off, the compass was off?
I don't know. There was just some. I was trying to toss up. Oh yeah, TJ maybe was looking a little bit better at one point, but then he just did 2 or 3 terrible kicks afterwards. It was scary.
Yeah. No, fair.
So half-time was 15-19. In the second half, the Crusaders finally got a penalty. I'm not really sure how at 8-1 and 10-4 you don't actually get a yellow card in that first half. And I think that's a big grievance with a lot of fans as well at the moment, that if you're going to give so many penalties, you need to escalate at some point. But we won't go into that too much here. Someone who wants to take us to the back end of this game and how it all finished up?
Craig?
Why not? My boy Asafa Amua came off the bench. Came off the bench.
On the bench?
And how did he go? I can't even remember, to be honest.
He also threw the ball terribly in the line-out. But
standard, yeah.
Yeah, so he just continued that on straight from goal. So I think he had a few good runs, things like that. But definitely had that momentum.
A few good runs. He scored that good try on the sideline, remember? On that edge.
Thank you. The play with Laumape, that's right. That was a fantastic offload from Laumape.
That was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But, look, he ran 5 metres. So I don't think you can do too much with that. And
Hard
didn't
earned,
really
mate, hard
find
earned.
defenders, but no, he did okay.
Now, but of course, the absolute game breaker for the Hurricanes was Cobus Van Wyk coming off the bench, just passing the ball to Richie Mo'unga. He's passing to the Crusaders for a try. That was just like at what stage, like probably the first year you play rugby, they tell you to not throw the ball back in blindly.
Was it actually Cobus? Because I swear to God that commentating was wrong. It was Billy Proctor.
No, it was Cobus.
No, it was
100%.
not Billy Proctor.
Billy Proctor wasn't on yet.
Yeah, no, he was.
Billy Proctor came on early, mate. Cobus Van Wyk wasn't even in the side.
No, it was definitely Cobus, 100%.
Guys, there's no point arguing over it. Cobus Van Wyk was on the right wing. Billy Proctor was on the left wing. They said it in the match. Yeah, he came on.
He's not on the side, mate. He's not in the team.
Mate, he came on.
No, it was definitely Cobus, 100%. But anyway, do we think this game was? I thought it perhaps in that, obviously it blew out at the end there, but I thought in the balance it was a bit closer in the middle than I thought. I honestly, after the first couple of minutes, I just thought, well, here we go, confirmed everything we've said. I think we were pretty spot on last week. We said Crusaders just going to annihilate everyone, and obviously they ended up doing it. I don't think there was any. We can blame it on rust. I think the Hurricanes did just pick up their game really in the middle bit of that game. But what's the last takeaways before we delve into the stats? Any last takeaways?
The Crusaders can just score with anything.
That Rather Robinson is an unbelievable coach, because we thought this was the year they're going to have a lot of turnover and it was going to be in players, and it was going to be a big ask for them to be dominant again, but they're just still so good.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, the match stats. Line-out's terrible, theme of New Zealand. The Hurricanes 75%, so 9 of 12. And the Crusaders 10 of 15. Not what you would have thought from the Crusaders.
Terrible.
Penalties, 12 to the Canes, 15 to the Crusaders. So I do feel like if anyone's going to lead the penalty count, it's the Crusaders. That's one thing they always they're very good at. They like leading. I think they just like leading all stats, so that's why they give away so many penalties as well. You know what I mean? They're like, we want to be up there. We want to top every fucking category.
And losing lineouts for sure. Tackle success, they won. They had 84%, whereas the Hurricanes only had 80%.
Very good. Do you want to take us through the fantasy points, Nels?
Why not, mate? Fantasy man of the match and just real life man of the match. The guy was a legend. Will Jordan, 77 points, 111 metres off 13 runs. So almost that one run, 10 metres a run. 8 tackle busts, 3 line breaks, 2 offloads. He had a try assist and 3 from 3 tackles. And he split through the smallest amount of room. It was absolutely ridiculous. That bloke would fit a semi-trailer through my legs. For the Crusaders, David Havili got 49 points in 40 minutes with 5 tackle busts. Sever Reese got 42 points for the Canes. I think Jackson Gunnar-Basham actually had a pretty good game. He had 42 points. TJ Perenara had 40 points. Definitely helped by the ref obstructing Brent Hall down that sideline when he made that break. But he did well too.
True that. I think we're all waiting for, we said last week, Geordie Barrett to come back and play 10, please. I think, and I think that's a legit option. I thought Chase Tiatia has been probably the form player for the Hurricanes the last 2 weeks.
How about Chase Tiatia tapping the ball in from jumping from the outside of the field?
Yeah, Justin Marshall made a comment about this. Remember, I spoke about this at the World Cup as well. Yeah, the rule is so clear. It's as soon as it crosses the plane of touch, the ball is out. So there is no touching it back in. There's no jumping from outside back in. As soon as it crosses the plane of the line, then it's out. So,
but even then, the rule when it's been misinterpreted in the past has been if you jump from inside the field to hit it back because the player was in when he jumped. And now they've changed it again. I love that Marshall's like, I didn't think that was the rule, but he's the ref, so I assume he knows.
Yeah, he didn't back himself, which is unusual for Justin Marshall. But
he got everything else wrong in this game, but we'll let him have this one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty much what he said.
That's it. Very good. All right, well, let's move along to our main course. So those are the games on the weekend.